you are enjoying this series and getting a lot out of it. Episode 2 was a doozy. That thing was long. I think what's probably going to happen is the early episodes, there's a lot of talking because I'm laying a foundation. And then the further we go and the more you got built up, then the more cooking I do and the less talking. So bear with me. Let's just lay our foundation. So, episode 2, we learned about suit up. Let's see if I have done that. Okay, remember the 5 things we have to do? Start at our head, go to our hand, hit 5 things. First thing, hair. Is it going to cause trouble with fire and catch on the stove? No, I have got it tied up, so I'm good there. Go down, shirt. Is my shirt protected from stains by an apron? Yes. Go down, cuff. Do I have a loose cuff that's going to catch things? No, I have a little cuff. Do I have clean hands? Yes, I washed my hands. Do I have the towel in the belt of my apron? I do. Okay, I am ready to go. Now, what are we going to cook? I thought that we would continue our series of snacks. And this time we're going to use the blender. And we're going to make peanut butter. And you ask, why make peanut butter? Because it tastes so much better than any peanut butter you can buy. I swear to you. I swear. Words are failing me. It's the best darn peanut butter you're ever going to have. So, but let's look at what's happening with peanut butter these days. Over here, I've got some jars of peanut butter. So here's good old Skippy. Let's read it. Remember, the front isn't going to be terribly useful because it's just advertising, but if we get around to the back, let's see what's in it. Now, something to know about packages. The ingredients are listed in the order of the amount that's in the package. So the first ingredient is the thing that there is the most of, and the last ingredient is the thing there's the least of. I would expect on peanut butter you would have peanuts first and probably salt last. And there really shouldn't be much else in peanut butter. Let's see what's happening over here with Skippy. We have roasted peanuts. That's good. We have sugar. Is our second ingredient. Why? Remember, diabetes is one of the things that's taking people out these days. Well, huge amounts of sugar is not going to be helping. So sugar, hydrogenated vegetable oil, and then they tell you the kinds: cottonseed, soybean, and grapeseed oil. That's not grapeseed, that's rapeseed, which is not from a grape. To prevent separation, and then salt. Okay, so that would read as hydrogenated vegetable oil to prevent separation. Well, what does that mean? Think about the difference between a bottle of cooking oil and a can of Crisco shortening. That's the difference between an oil and a hydrogenated oil. Hydrogenating makes it stable so it doesn't separate. That makes things last longer on the shelf. It's easier for the people who produce the food. It makes it look more appealing. But guess what? Your body doesn't like hydrogenated oils at all. They're very hard on your body. So let's see what's going on here with Skippy. Let's look at the things that are good for us and the things that are bad. So roasted peanuts, good. Sugar, bad. Hydrogenated vegetable oil to prevent separation, bad. Salt, we can live with salt. So the first and last ingredients are okay, but everything in the middle is bad, and there's a lot of it. Does it even say that those roasted peanuts were organic? No, it doesn't. Move on Skippy. Let's try Jif. Here's Jif. Okay, reading Jif. Okay, ingredients: made from roasted peanuts and sugar. Contains 2% or less of molasses, fully hydrogenated vegetable oils,
rapeseed and soybean. Mono and diglycerides, salt.
What the heck have they done to peanut butter? Okay, Jif is not our friend. Let's try something else.
How about all natural or natural Jif?
Remember, natural is bogus, but they're trying to create the concept that
this one is probably what we all know and we think appeals to kids because of the bright colors. We've known it all our lives, but if you become health conscious, you start looking for things like this and you will reach for that one over this one. So this one better live up to it. That's why they put that word on there, and they look at the colors. They use colors that look more like nature. They did that,
trying to create a sense of this is from the earth without a lot of messing with it.
Okay, let's see what they did. This is made from, I don't know why they can't just say ingredients and then list them, but for some reason they're saying ingredients made from peanuts, sugar, palm oil, contains 2% or less of salt, molasses. So there's more salt than molasses, but
what's molasses doing in peanut butter? Molasses is a form of sugar. When they take sugar cane and they pull it out of the ground, it's a big stalk of think of like a big corn stalk. It's that tall part. It's giant grass, and it's got this sturdy stem. And sugar cane's about that big around, so think of a big stick about that big around. And they chew it up, and the inside gives us the juice, which is sugar. And then they cook it down, and molasses is part of cooking down the syrup from the sugar cane. So it's a form of sugar. Made from peanuts, sugar, palm oil, salt, and molasses. I don't know much about palm oil. It's one of the tropical oils. You would think it would be okay for you. But I know, just watching TV lately, on Netflix, there's that TV show with, it's called Frankie and somebody. It's Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin, and they're being activists, and Lily Tomlin went off on somebody who was eating palm oil, because apparently it like, in order to get it, they're cutting down the habitat where gorillas live, and gorillas are endangered. I know nothing else about it, but it's kind of interesting that they put it in the TV show, and now we get a little bit informed. So I'm not gravitating toward the palm oil. I'd be happier if it were coconut oil.
And why is sugar number 2? What's going on? That's their natural. Let's try another one. Here's Skippy being natural. Okay, what are they doing? Roasted peanuts, sugar, palm oil, salt.
So this doesn't have molasses, and it doesn't have hydrogenated oil. But what's all that salt doing, sugar doing in there? And what's palm oil have to know on that one? Let's see if we can do
a little bit better. Okay, here's one. It's 100%
peanuts. I thought that was pretty appealing.
And we read it, and its ingredient list is peanuts.
Well, now we're getting somewhere.
Now keep reading and see if you can find the word organic anywhere on this package, because if it cannot say that it's organic, it's going to be full of pesticides. Pesticides are built to kill little bugs, but they do a number on you as well. This does not say organic anywhere.
Bummer. So much for that guy. How about this one?
Smucker's, organic.
All right. So no labs were involved in this.
And so they didn't mess with its genetics, and they didn't, yeah, you can't say organic unless it is non-GMO.
At least it's not going to be full of pesticides, and they didn't go around messing with its genetics.
So it's USDA organic some more, because that's their big selling point. See how big they wrote that word? Because they want you to gravitate toward it. What are its ingredients? Organic roasted peanuts, contains 1% or less of salt.
So the thing to know about peanuts is they have oil in them. remember I had that bottle of peanut oil out here yesterday, or in the last episode? You would think that there's enough oil in a peanut that if you're going to roast it, it probably can supply its own oil. So you don't need to add any. Apparently, that's what they feel here at Smucker's Organic.
So it's just organic peanuts and some salt. This is my favorite peanut butter. See how it's got oil at the top? That's because it separates. And when you open this, you stir it up, and then you can keep it in the refrigerator. Will help reduce the speed at which the oil separates. It's great. Have you ever made peanut butter? Oh, goodness. The best stuff. I use a can of Planters. This is the best tasting peanut butter I've ever had. Now, let's read it. It's telling us all about how heart healthy it is. They give you a long paragraph about how there's research that suggests but does not prove that eating a couple of nuts is good for your heart. Okay, let's read what's in it. Contains ingredients: peanuts, peanut oil, sea salt. Oh, you know, those other ones that just say salt, if they're not saying sea salt, maybe it's like that Morton salt that's got the dextrose and the anti-caking stuff, and, you know, basically corn is the dextrose. I question what their salt is. If they're not saying sea salt, it's either salt dug out of the ground, which doesn't really have a name. There's sea salt and there's other salt. Okay. Well, this one, it's sea salt, so that's good. It does not say that these peanuts are organic. It does not say the peanut oil is organic. But notice that after the ingredients, it says contains peanut. And you think, well, duh, of course it does. Why are they bothering to say that? And here's the reason. There's another kind of genetically modified thing that they do. So, you know, we said that the GMO, genetically modified organism, that is Roundup Ready corn or Roundup Ready seed of some kind goes with the pesticide Roundup, which kills weeds. Actually, it's an herbicide. It kills weeds. And then the Roundup corn doesn't get killed. Now we can kill, theoretically, with the Roundup you can kill the weeds, but what about the bugs? So another project that they did is to say, how about we grow a plant that if a bug eats it, he'll die because the plant poisons him. Ooh, they thought this was good. So the idea is that the bug comes and he eats the plant, the grain, whatever your crop is, and they genetically modified this plant into being something they call BT, like Boy Thomas, BT. And if the bug eats the BT, then when the food goes into the bug and it gets to his digestive tract, his intestines basically, it'll make him explode. The bug dies from the inside out because the BT plant is exploding his guts. Okay, well, do you know how your own body works? So you eat the food, it goes through your mouth, breaks it down mechanically with your teeth, and your saliva breaks it down chemically. It goes down to your stomach and gets squished around with more juices that are acids that help break it down. And then some other things kick in. Your pancreas turns in some insulin to help you break down that stuff, and off it goes. And now it gets down into your intestines. Your intestines are basically one long tube. So there's a lot of them in there, and it's just one long tube. Think of like a long extension cord, all wadded up. Well, they're in there, and the food goes wandering through after it's been all chewed up
and broken down. It's in here. And the job of the intestines is think of it as a tube, and that tube has to be made out of something special because as the food comes through, it needs to pass, the good part of the food needs to go through the walls of the tube and come out the other side, which is where your bloodstream is, and that's how the food ends up going to all the parts of your body where you need it. So the good part needs to make it through, and the bad part needs to keep going and come out your back end. All right, so that's the job of our intestines. How do they do that? The walls of the intestine have to be special, and they are basically like a picket fence. They have to let the good through and keep the bad out. Well, what BT plants do when we eat them, they break the pickets. And so now you've got, let's pull one of these down. Pull down my picket. I broke, I'll break just this one. Okay, so here comes my food and it is going to go through. Well, it's not just the good part that's going through, the bad part is going through. The stuff that should go out your back end when you go to the bathroom is going through and going into your bloodstream. Partially digested food gets into your bloodstream, and your body sees that as some terrible thing, and it attacks it. And your body says, that food is a bad guy, and we're going to kill it. And then it learns, anytime you see that, kill it. Well, that's food allergies. And there are 8 things that are now written on every package that if it has any of those 8 things, they have to say they're in there because so many people are allergic to them. Childhood allergies, I mean, why do kids have food allergies? That was the rarest thing when I was a kid. Every kid ate tons of peanut butter. And now you have all these kids with peanut allergies. Like if they eat one, they'll have to be rushed to the hospital and maybe they'll live or they won't live. Well, what's up with that? It's because the BT stuff, along with all the other pesticides and things we're eating, are breaking down our intestines, and the food is getting where it becomes an enemy of our bodies. And our bodies attack it and become very sensitive to it. And so trying to reverse that, you have to get the kid to not eat that food for a while, and then you have to have him eat a really healthy diet that helps build his body back up again until his pickets get fixed. And then eventually you can introduce the food again, but a good version, not a BT version, and now he can eat the food if all goes well. Okay, so that's why, again, it matters what's on our packages and what we're eating. So let's go back over here. There's 8 things that many people are allergic to. It's not that the people have become so sensitive. It's that the human bodies are getting hammered by so many toxic things in our world these days. Remember the 20th century that went to town with chemicals and, well, we're all living, being hammered by that, and our bodies can only do so much. They try and try. They work really hard to keep us going, but a body can only do so much. And when it starts to break down, you see these problems. So 8 foods have been identified as many people are allergic to them. I saw that on these other jars, they don't say contains peanut. I guess they're thinking we'll just use common sense. If it's peanut butter, it must contain peanuts, and we'll only talk about the other allergens that you wouldn't know are in there, and they didn't have any. Apparently, the Planters legal department decided they were going to be extra careful and just say it explicitly that it contains peanut. Okay, back over here, that is why.
This says contains peanut. The problem is, do you see anywhere on this the word organic? Do you see that non-GMO verified? Nope, they're not here. This does say Quality USA.
That's not the same thing as saying this was grown in the USA, but for some reason they just want to say go USA for some reason. Let's interpret that as saying it was grown in the USA, but that's what they want you to do, but that doesn't mean that's what it is. It doesn't say grown and made in the USA.
Okay, this is made by Kraft Heinz. So the Kraft company and the Heinz company apparently have merged. That would be a monster company. So Planters, not organic, does have a nice clean list of ingredients.
Darn it, it's probably genetically modified and all those other bad things. Okay, let's look at Walmart generic.
Okay, or Walmart store brand. This says it's peanuts, vegetable oil, which could be peanut, cottonseed, soybean, and or sunflower seed.
So they may have used any of 4 different oils in here. They can't make up their mind and stick with one. And because of that, it means that this product is going to vary from one time you get it to another because they just use a different oil.
Sea salt. Okay. Contains, get this, if its ingredients are peanuts, vegetable oil, and sea salt, why do we have this big disclaimer? It contains peanuts and soy. Well, that would make sense. It's got peanuts and it's got potentially soybean oil. May contain traces of milk. Why would milk be in there? Eggs. What are eggs doing in there? Almonds. Okay, now listen, these are all tree nuts. Look at it. Almonds, Brazil nuts, cashews, coconut, hazelnut, macadamia nuts, pecans, pine nuts, pistachios, walnuts.
They just like named all the tree nuts. And wheat. So there's our major allergens. What that list tells you is that this is made in a facility where the very same equipment is being used to process more than just these nuts. The whole building is not sealed off and it's just a peanut place.
Other stuff is going on here. Okay, so if you have allergies to any of those other things, they are telling you, look out. It does not say organic. It does not say non-GMO. Manufactured, so the Planters manufactured on equipment that processes tree nuts.
And then they just leave you to guess which ones. But at least it doesn't say wheat, eggs, dairy, and other, crazy stuff.
All right.
I still love Planters, but obviously I need to find better peanuts. So the search goes on, and I have looked. I continue to look for good organic peanuts that can make decent peanut butter. And I tasted these, and they don't taste good. And I have tried making peanut butter out of this, and it was disgusting. Don't do that. Now,
What about dry roasted?
thinking maybe you can roast just using the oil out of the peanut. Maybe you don't have to add oil.
Well, let's see. This contains peanuts, contains 2% or less of sea salt, spices.
Contains celery. So the spices contain celery. I don't know anybody who's allergic to celery. I don't know what their deal is that they have to name that. But I have a friend who's allergic to garlic, And when a package says natural flavorings or spices, if they won't tell you specifically what it is, my friend says he can't eat that food because it too often is garlic and he gets sick. So when they don't come out and actually tell you what something is, why not? Is it some secret special recipe? And do they care more about their recipe than they care about telling you what they're actually feeding you?
All right, down here. So we've got peanuts, we've got 2% or less of sea salt, spices, dried onion, dried garlic, paprika, natural flavor,
Who knows what that is?
sugar, cornstarch, gelatin, torula yeast, maltodextrin, dried corn syrup.
Okay, remember how I was saying that they're growing corn on that massive industrial scale and it just goes for state after state after state? That when you grow one crop on a huge scale, that's called monoculture because it's one growing. So when they grow that much corn, they have to figure out what are we going to do with all this corn. And so they start putting it in things. Now you can take the sugar out of the corn, that's called dextrose, and start putting it in things as a sweetener. This has
Cornstarch is made from corn. Maltodextrin is made from corn. Dried corn syrup is made from corn. And I thought I saw another one. 1, 2, 3. We've got 3 different kinds of corn in here.
So my peanuts have a lot of corn in them.
Okay, gelatin.
Gelatin comes from the bones of animals. Okay, so I got animals on my peanuts.
Okay, and why exactly do my peanuts have spices, contain celery, dried onion, dried garlic, paprika, sugar, yeast?
What the heck? That's an awful lot of stuff to be putting on a peanut. No wonder I never liked the flavor of those. They never taste like peanuts. There's always like other stuff happening.
Do not make peanut butter out of these. Contains peanut. Okay. Manufactured on equipment that processes tree nuts. Okay. Partially produced with genetic engineering.
So they're actually telling you this is GMO. And the people who do GMO try to hide it. They do not want to admit it.
But Planters is coming out and telling you. I have a feeling their legal department is hardcore. So here is the Walmart brand of dry roasted and unsalted. So if you want salt in your peanut butter, you're going to have to bring it yourself. And this, its only ingredient is dry roasted peanuts.
That's it. That's wonderful. If we know what dry roasted means, did that mean they took a peanut and they put it in an oven and they roasted it all by themselves? Or are they playing games and dry roasting might mean something like this guy here could be full of mischief?
I don't know. But now, see, they're telling you how many other things they do at the facility that does this. Contains peanuts. May contain traces of milk, eggs, almonds, Brazil nuts, cashews, coconut, hazelnuts, macadamia nuts, pecans, pine nuts, pistachios, walnuts, wheat, and soy.
So it's traveling through that equipment, picking up whatever's along the way.
And I also noticed that these Walmart products, they don't say who actually makes them. They say it's distributed by Walmart. But you don't know where it came from. You don't know if it's from the U.S. or I mean, you're not learning a lot here. You're not being terribly forthcoming.
So, and that doesn't say anything about organic. So, flavor-wise, I still love Planters. I wish they'd be organic, but they're not. So the search continues for the perfect peanut. I do know that when I've gone to grocery stores that in their bulk section they have their own machines with the peanuts that you hit the switch and it'll make peanut butter right there for you. I have never liked those. This, infinitely better. Let's make some.
Here's my wonderful blender.
It's lightweight, it's easy to use. The container is made out of the same stuff as the windshields of airplanes, so it doesn't break. And to clean it, you just put in some hot water and some soap and you put it back on the blender and run it and it'll clean itself. The only thing it doesn't clean very well is peanut butter because it gets stuck at the top. So it's a little harder to clean out peanut butter. I love it. So the way this one works, here's your on-off switch, and then here's from low to high is twisty, and then this flipper is for going turbo. So take it into overdrive. Okay. Now it has a container that's a half a gallon and a container that's half of that. This thing cost $600. I bought it at a time, actually my mom bought it for me at a time I had no money, so mom was my buddy. It doesn't weigh very much, so it's easy to use. It is probably one of the very best investments I ever made. It's a daunting thing to buy a $600 blender. If you can pull it off, go for it. The Vitamix company dates back to, I think, the 1920s, at least the 1930s. They are made in Ohio, in the very same building that they've been made in since the very beginning. The guy who started the company was a hard-nosed guy who absolutely demanded very high quality in everything that he produced. And for years they used to be sold like at state fairs and places where there would be somebody standing there pitching the product to you. And now you can get them at Costco and just about anywhere, any kitchen place. I bought this one at a restaurant supply store because I got the commercial one. The domestic one has a 2-horsepower motor. And when I've told that to people who like to fish and they have boats, they say 2 horsepower on a blender, that's more power than in an outboard motor on a boat. A blender is stronger than a boat motor? Yeah, it is. And this one, the commercial one, is 3 horsepower. So I have a big bad blender. The canister is made out of the same stuff as airplane windows, so it won't break. And what else? I'll tell you why. If you look at my countertops, I don't have appliances sitting out here. There's a 70-pound juicer over there, but he's 70 pounds, so that's why he gets to live on the counter. And the only other thing out here is this blender. Because with a mixer or something, I use that seldom, and I may go get it out for special occasions. If you are working your way up from ground zero to equipping a kitchen, think about it. A mixer, you can actually do the mixing yourself by hand if you have to, until you can afford something that'll do it for you. But you can't do by hand what a blender does. So it's worth it. And there are so many really bad ones. There are very, very few good ones. Vitamix and the other rival brand to them is Blend Tech. It's the word blend with T-E-C on the end. If you go to like a Jamba Juice smoothie shop, they will have either Blend Tex or Vitamix. If you go to a Starbucks, you'll see, I think they generally use Vitamix. Baskin Robbins. Any gourmet or any serious chef in their kitchen will have it. If you watch any of those cooking shows, it's always a Vitamix. They're basically indestructible. If you can't afford one, or you're questioning it, if you go to the Vitamix company, like Vitamix.com, you can contact the company, and they have a program, where they used to, where they'll send you the domestic version, so the 2 horsepower, and you get to use it for like 30 days or 60 days, and if you don't like it, you send it back. So you can try it, and no harm, no foul if you don't like it. If you can't afford it, but you do want one, try buying one off of eBay, because the company stands behind their product and they will fix things. So if Mom hadn't bought me that and I wanted a Vitamix, I think that's what I'd probably do. Okay, over here, we are going to make peanut butter, and it is this complex.
You pour the peanuts in. And you turn it on. Now, this one, here's my power switch. And then I have a twisty knob. And then I have this turbo blaster button. Always start a blender on the lowest speed. If you start on a high speed, it just kind of kicks everything up in the air and it can't grab it. You need to start low so it pulls the food down into the blades. And then as it's doing that, you see it's making progress. Just keep it challenged by making it go a little bit harder, a little bit faster, and eventually you can go all the way to the top, and then I flip on the turbo button. Now, most blenders are very frustrating because the food will stick to the sides and it doesn't want to go down to the blades. It's so annoying. Well, look what Vitamix came up with. This is called a tamper. And if I put the tamper in there, this top lip makes it stop right before it hits the blades. So you never have to worry about pushing too far and ending up with chewed up plastic in your food. It will stop. And you just use this to strong arm the food and make it go down to the blades. It's terrific. Now, if you can see it, it's thicker here and then it suddenly drops down and gets much narrower right there. That's the part that stops it on the little guy. So let's make some peanut butter. If this is too noisy, I'll turn the sound down for you. Now, watch this. Here's the can of peanuts. And here's my thermometer. And let's look at the temperature. It is 78 degrees. Now, let's get the peanut butter out. If you wanted chunky peanut butter, first make it like this because that's creamy, and then toss in some peanuts at the end to chop them up. Because if you don't do it by making creamy first. You will have individual grains rather than some sort of smooth stuff for the peanut, the chunky ones to sit in. Okay, here's peanut butter. That's enough.
The way you clean a Vitamix is you put some hot tap water in it and a little squirt of soap, and then you put it on here and you turn it on and it cleans itself. The only thing it doesn't do really well is peanut butter because it's so sticky. So the peanut butter part at the bottom will get cleaned off when you run it, but you have to get the top off by yourself, which is not that hard. Okay, let's see what temperature this is. So we had
76, and here we have about 130. So that's approaching twice the temperature. This stuff is warm.
oh God, that's good. That's because friction. As stuff's flying around inside the blender, excuse me, as stuff is flying around the blender, it creates friction, which generates heat. You can actually reheat things, or even Vitamix says you can cook things, but you can definitely reheat things in a blender. I have a recipe for cream of broccoli soup. It's got milk in it. When you try to reheat milk-based things, it never does it very well on the stove. And microwave ovens basically ruin anything that goes in them. I mean, when have you ever had anything come out of a microwave oven that wasn't worse off? Doing it on the stove is better, or in the oven, but milk-based soups do not reheat well. I put mine cold in Vitamix, turn it on, and let it spin around. And in like 3 minutes, you'll have hot soup. So, just so you know. Now, what are we going to do with our peanut butter? Well, in case you never had to make one, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich is best made, I do believe, by taking this slice of bread, you put the peanut butter on that one, this slice of bread, put the jelly on it, and then you put them together. If you try to stack the peanut butter and the jelly, they don't like to play together. It works better this way. Now, how about we turn this into a healthy snack? So nuts have a lot of protein. They are good for you. They really are. And there's an old childhood favorite I will make for you. We need some carrots. If we had carrot sticks, we could put the peanut butter on the carrot sticks. Okay, we get a cutting board. And now I have to cut carrot sticks. Now, you could buy those little carrots that are about the size of my thumb at the grocery store. Those are actually larger carrots that are grown to be specially sweet. And then they grind them down with a machine to make them that little size. Those are good. They're great with to take to work for a lunch if you had to pack a lunch for work or school or some travel somehow. So they're good, but let's just make a carrot stick by hand with a regular sized carrot. Here's a carrot. And then we'll make something with celery too. I need a good piece of celery. Where's a good one? This one. Okay. Now, I have to wash them off. And I have 2 brushes. You're kind of want one of each. This met up with Blueberry, so he's very dark. But one that's kind of a handle where you can get in things easily and more flexible. And then one that's very stiff with tight bristles. This is a potato brush. He looks like a potato. He was called Potato Brush, and I bought him at Sur La Table, and it was made by, I believe, Chefin, which is the word chef apostrophe N. And this Bed Bath & Beyond. Okay, here we go. So you can see that the celery did better with one brush and the carrot did better with another. And I mean, get a couple of brushes and use whatever's right. Now I have to cut these. So you can see we have not gotten any further than our first food, popcorn, into our second food before we had to use a knife. It's time to build some knife skills. They are very basic. Here we go. I'm going to get a knife. So, here's a big old chef's knife. The way you hold on to a knife, you don't hold it at the back. You don't even hold it here. You would think you would, but you don't. You need to, you need to bring your thumb up onto the blade and your finger, the knuckle of your finger on the other side from the thumb, so that they can really brace that blade. Otherwise, back here, do you see that the knife can spin? But up here, the knife cannot spin. That's why you hold it that way. And just make sure that your finger does not go down there or he'll get chopped and you'll be bloody. Keep him back across from the thumb. Now, the hand that gets cut is never the one holding the knife. It's the other one, the one holding the food. You need to be very aware of the relationship between the knife and the other hand. So I need to cut that end and this end. With vegetables, you generally cut the tips and the tails, which is what I'm doing here. So I'm going to grip my knife and I'm going to come down. See how I put the top down and then I'm bringing it down like a paper trimmer, like that. Don't do this. It's hard on the blade. It doesn't work as well either. Do it like that. Okay, here we go. If you do it next to the sink or a trash can, you can just fling it into the receptacle. All right, now here I'm going to cut these. And now I need to peel my carrot. So there's a debate about, do you peel or do you not peel? And one school of thought says, well, there's germs in the soil and there's pesticides and you want to get rid of all that, so peel your carrot. And there's another school of thought that says, no. The vitamins live directly under the skin. If you take off the peel, you're taking off all the vitamins and then there's no point in eating the carrot. Well, I have found out recently about a website that is somehow out of the Netherlands. And the Netherlands is where carrots came from. And they did their research and they said the rule of thumb is this. If the skin is the same color as the inside, then the peel doesn't have any special stuff in it. If the peel is a different color than the inside, you want to keep the peel because it does have the good stuff right either in the peel or directly under it. So a carrot is the same color on the inside and the outside, so you can peel a carrot if you want to. And an apple, it's a different color on the inside. It's white on the inside, and then the outside is red or green or yellow. So don't peel an apple. And that is how you know what to peel. Okay, here is my carrot. I choose to peel my carrot. The question is, what do I peel it with? Now, both of these peelers have nice, soft, comfortable handles. If you get a peeler with a handle that hurts your
hand. Like there's one that, the classic one is a piece of metal that's on its side, like they bent a metal ruler and made it curve around, and those hurt. Don't buy those. And you would think of peeling as being a terrible, painful experience, and stay away from peeling. You start thinking the kitchen's a bad place. Well, I mean, get decent equipment, and then that's what this is. So this has been my favorite for years, but it does have the problem the peels don't get out of it, and you're always having some piece of peel hanging around, causing trouble. This is my new one. It doesn't do that. It's just enough further away between the blade and the top that it doesn't do it. This is made by, I think it was Joseph. Crazy name, but that's what it was. And it was at Sur La Table. This you can get just about anywhere, especially at, well, name a kitchen store and they will have it. But specifically, a really good display. This is the Good Grips brand. And if you want the best display of Good Grips stuff, go to Bed Bath & Beyond. They've got it. Okay, but you can get those anywhere. Oh, know that some, do I have one? I don't think I do. Some peelers have teeth. And I don't have one. Okay, so some peelers have teeth. They're serrated. And when you, that's built to be able to go through really tough skins. Like on some squashes and things, you need to really dig in. And that gives you enough grip to rip into that skin. It will always leave little teeth marks, so you get ridges. Ridges don't look real good, so I don't like those. But that's what those are. Just know, pay attention to what kind of peeler you're getting, because there are different kinds. So, that's the peeler story. And what else can I tell you about peelers? I think that's it. Okay, let's peel it. Now, if I hold the carrot up and peel it, I'm always going to be pressing against it, and sooner or later you'll snap a carrot, but it's also just harder on you because you're pushing down with this hand and you have to push up with this hand, and it's stressful. Just put your carrot on something stable and then hold it at one end and go away from you because it's more comfortable, and then you're never going to get yourself in trouble. Go like that. If I'm working in the sink, I often will do it right here. Okay. Then turn your carrot around and do the other side. There. Peeled carrot. Now I can run all that stuff down the garbage disposal. All right. You don't peel celery. My grandma had this obsession with taking the threads, the strings out of celery. So you would come at it with a knife and cut into it and pull them back because she said they choked children. Well, by the time she was yelling at my mom about failure to peel the celery for the kid, but I'm old enough to remember her doing it, so I was old enough to know how to chew celery. Anyway, there's celery strings on the loose. Okay, now I need to cut carrot sticks. That is almost a stick in its own right because it's skinny. But this you're going to have to cut. Now, if I come down on there with the knife, this carrot is going to roll around. I have to hold it. If I start putting my hand here, I guess you could. As long as you're working away from you, you could hold it here and cut that way. It's not how I do it, though. The hand that gets cut is never going to be the one holding the knife unless you move your finger. The one that's going to get cut is the one that holds the food. Pay attention to this. Now, what they teach you when you're cutting things is you curl your fingers back. If you keep them out there, you're going to get it with the knife. Curl them back. My fingers and my fingernails don't like doing that. I had never figured out the subtleties of that. But even then, you can't really do it on the carrot when you're cutting carrot sticks because you have to put the knife this way. So here's what I do. I make sure that I really truly have that carrot holding still, because if it moves when I have the knife, I'm going to be bleeding. So I come down at the base of the carrot. See, if I did it now, he's going to run around. I have to hold the carrot. So I hold him real steady, and then I come down. And see, now my hand's out of the way. Oh, my fingers are up. Nobody's going to get hurt. Here I come. There. I cut it. Now I can turn this over and he won't roll. I can do this. See, my fingers were never anywhere near the business end of the knife. Okay, here, I don't know, could do it. Here, I gotta hold it again. Come down. There, that's good. And then I can do this one. Got him. Make him short. That one short. Okay, done. So I come down with my hand, will hold that carrot, and the knife is going to be between my hands, so it can't get anywhere. And then see what I'm doing? I come down at an angle, and now my fingers are way up. They can't possibly get hurt. And I come down. I don't put a lot of force on it when my fingers are in peril. I do very gentle force if the fingers are in the path of the blade. Okay. There, cut my carrot. Now I'm going to come this way. See, once it's flat on the bottom, you don't have to hold it. Fingers are up, not going to get hurt. There's some. This carrot is curved, so I don't think I'm going to get an even little piece. There, I now have carrot sticks and celery sticks. So, with peanut butter, you can just, obviously, dip the carrot stick in, and you're good. With celery, scoop some up on a knife, stuff it in the celery. What a great shape celery is. Look at that. Also, when I was a kid, I used to do this with cream cheese. Very tasty. Not as good for you. Definitely not as good for you. Cream cheese doesn't have anything in it that you need to be eating, but it tastes really good. So, we can have peanut butter. And peanut butter celery is good. It really is. All right, so you're getting some protein from your nuts, and you're getting all the good things in the vegetable of the celery. But there's something else you can do. Get yourself some raisins. And this is how I always ate it like that. But there is a childhood treat that I didn't know about when I was a kid. You put raisins in the peanut butter, and that is a childhood classic treat called ants on a log. See, there they are. That is really good. I tried it yesterday, and ants on a log is very tasty. Okay, what else is good with peanut butter? Banana. Peanut butter banana is wonderful. Peanut butter banana sandwiches, because it's hard to put peanut butter on a banana. You can sort of work your way as you eat the banana, put the peanut butter on bite by bite. But anyway, that's another good combination. If you make peanut butter part of your life, don't go hog wild with it, because it's got a lot of fat in it too. So it brings you protein, it brings you some fat. You can make it one of your healthier proteins that you eat. And that's a start. So I just thought, since we're making a series that is geared toward kids, I'd start with a childhood classic. Now, so this is the end of this episode. Your homework was watching King Corn. Did you learn anything good? Did you enjoy it? I thought those guys were a lot of fun. I liked them. Did you catch that when they talked to a guy
who was out in the parking lot outside a restaurant. He said that they feed the corn to the cattle, and they have to kill the cattle. It's a good thing they kill the cattle when they do, because if they didn't, the cattle would die from all that corn that they're feeding them. Okay, so my story. My father is a Nebraska farm boy. My mother is a Nebraska minister's daughter, small town kids. And neither of them, they both left Nebraska and went on to other careers, and Dad never did any farming. So he left that. In the mid-1950s, the whole industrialized, mechanized, gigantic farming was happening, and all of the small family farms were being driven out of business. And that happened to my grandparents. They had to sell out because you could no longer make a living being a farmer. So it's kept evolving like that. And now farmers used to be one of the biggest professions, biggest jobs. More people had the job of being a farmer than any other job. Like tons of people were farmers. It's the moral of the story. Tons of people were farmers. And then all that mechanized, industrialized stuff happened. And now in the last time the U.S. Census was taken, farming is so few people do it that it now isn't even a category. It's like 2% or less of people do it. So they say if that's what you do, write it in under the heading other. Well, we all eat. How is it that those who feed us are so few in number? Because they've turned it into that gigantic monoculture, huge tractors go forever, okay? But they're not raising good food. What we need to do is break it down into smaller farms where people are raising the food better. And there's now a trend of people starting to do that. So we need to encourage more people. We need to have more family farms. One thing Monsanto does is they will take their corn, like their Roundup Ready corn or their BT corn, and they will throw it into the fields of farmers who will not use Monsanto products. And because Monsanto has patented their seed, they then sue the farmer for patent infringement. And they win in court because of all the clout that Monsanto has with our government. And so then they drive the farmer either out of business, or they give him, this monstrous, having lost a lawsuit, financial problem, plus the stress and the having to go through it. So that's Monsanto, and that's what a lot of our food is. And it's sitting right here. All these things that have maltodextrin and dextrose and corn syrup solids, and that's industrial farming happening. Whereas the Smucker's, this one, is the only one that doesn't do it. So if you're just going to go to the store and buy peanut butter, buy this one, or something else that says organic, doesn't have a bunch of junk in it, it's just peanuts, maybe some peanut oil, and some salt. Keep it simple. All right, that's the end of that story. Now, okay, so I was telling you about the farming because my mother's uncles were cattle farmers, and they sold their beef in Nebraska. They were Nebraska beef, and they had a reputation of being some of the best beef out there. If you said it was beef from that company, you could get a higher price for it. So it was very good. And Mom's told me that their trick was that at the end, just before they sold the cattle, they would feed them a certain amount of corn, and that was called corn-fed beef, and it made it taste better. Well, so that's how it used to be. Cattle grew up on grass, and then they got a little bit of corn at the end. But what you see in King corn is that now that we're growing preposterous amounts of corn, and they had to figure out something to do with it, that one of the things they're doing is taking the corn stalks and feeding them to the cattle. And it's
hurts their tummy and gets all acid and it eats the cow and he's sick. And so you got to kill him when you do, because if you don't, he's going to die anyway. So that's what's happening with the corn. We got to quit growing such a preposterous amount of corn. What else did they say? Oh, so when I was a kid, in the mid-70s, there was a time when on the evening news, the big national network news anchors, these important guys, were saying Earl Butz this and Earl Butz that. And we kids would just laugh hysterically because the man is saying Butz. And Earl Butz was up to something because he was in the news a lot. We laughed and laughed on a regular basis because his name was there so much. Well, that was a time when the way the government made sure that the prices were stable on crops that were grown is they would pay farmers so the farmers could still make a living, but tell the farmer, take this season off. So we've got your expenses covered, but don't be growing a crop because we don't want all that crop hitting the marketplace where we sell it and it affects prices. So people used to complain and say, gee, I wish the government would pay me not to do my job. And Earl Butz was part of getting rid of that. Well, what happened is that then, since farmers didn't have anybody to cover their expenses so they could take a season off, they have to plant every single season, every time they can. And what it's done is flood the market. And that was when they started growing preposterous amounts of corn. So now you have all this corn going into the marketplace, and it drives the price of corn down, which means now the farmer's in even worse shape. He's having to grow crops every season that he can, and he's still not making ends meet. So now the government is providing subsidies to pay the farmers to plant the crops, so we're right back where we were. Nothing was gained except that now there's vast amounts of corn. So it used to be, if you saw King Corn, you know this, that here's the grain silo in the town, and that's where traditionally they always kept the corn. And once they started, Earl Butz did his thing, now the farmers are planting twice as often, and this grain silo isn't big enough to hold it. So now we're going to have to build another grain silo. So in that town, there was the other grain silo that came afterwards. You got two. And then that wasn't enough. So then we see that on the side of the road, they just started dumping the corn, and now it's as long as a football field, and it's several stories high. Just the corn that's sitting there. And there's another one over there. And that was one town. So that's what I mean by there's a preposterous amount of corn being grown. And what happened in the States where they grow all that corn, they needed to create a market for that. So they talked to the guys in the research labs and said, figure out something to do with all this corn. We've got to sell it somehow. And that's where they went and came up with all these products that are made out of corn and then added to our food. They're simply overcoming what happened when Earl Butz, head of the Department of Agriculture, stopped the subsidies to help the farmers. And now we've got subsidies to help the farmers, but we've flooded our market with corn. So one of the things they did was break down corn, and there's always been corn syrup, like Karo corn syrup. But then they came up with this corn syrup that was extremely concentrated, sort of think of industrial strength corn syrup. Not normal. It's doing things that your body does not know what to do with that molecule when it hits you. So this was called high fructose, or fructose, can be pronounced either way, high fructose corn syrup. Now, in the 80s, in 1980,
This would have been the Cola Wars, and that was 1984. We had Michael Jackson doing all these commercials, and he was promoting Pepsi. And then there was somebody else promoting Coca-Cola. And we had the Cola Wars. It was huge. All over the world, really. These advertising campaigns were going at each other. Coke versus Pepsi, Coke versus Pepsi. And part of what happened around that time is Coke came out with New Coke. And so people tried it because they quit making regular Coke. There was only New Coke. Nobody liked it. So then they said, okay, we'll release Coke Classic, the old one. And so you could either have New Coke, or Coke Classic. And so people would drink Coke Classic because New Coke wasn't any good. And we all said, this does not taste like Coca-Cola has always tasted. Something is different. They messed with Coca-Cola. That was when Coke switched from using sugar to using high fructose corn syrup. And it makes sense, the time period that would have happened, because that was early part of the 80s, and it was mid to late 70s that the corn subsidies were stopped. So think about how long it would have taken to flood the market with corn, and then do research to figure out what to do with it, and then market it, and there's your explanation. So when you pick up a product and it says high fructose corn syrup, know that that is something that will absolutely freak out your body. And if you pick up Coke now, that's what's in there. And now people like to buy soft drinks like Coke and things that are made in Mexico, because Mexico doesn't use it. They use sugar. So if you want like proper traditional Coke, you have to get Coke from Mexico. So now when you read things and you see high fructose corn syrup, you know what it is and why you don't want to be eating that. So stay away from the high fructose corn syrup. All right, so I think that's it. Homework for next time. How about we do Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead? That's my third one of my favorite films. That's our guy who goes on a juice fast. You'll love him, Australian guy, lots of fun. All right, watch that. I will see you next time, and we will carry on. I will give you a preview, more snacks. We're gonna make more snacks. All right, thanks. Bye-bye, everybody.